Hey guys, I'm Davey Wavey, creator of the gay erotic website Himeros.tv, and today I am joined by sex coach Finn Deerhart, and today we are talking about the healing power of sex, because it's just like they say, a cum shot a day keeps the doctor away. That's the line, isn't it?
For all intents and purposes, yes.
Yeah. Himeros Live is sponsored by Himeros.tv. Created by Davey Wavey, Himeros.tv has everything that you love about porn. The models, the cum shots, the fucking, and combines it with authenticity, vulnerability, pleasure, and sexual exploration through explicit videos co-created by a team of gay sex experts, all designed to give you the best gay sex of your life. It's time to join the gay porn revolution at Himeros.tv. Himeros.tv. It's like porn.
But better.
But better.
Much better.
Girl.
Hey.
Finn, long time no speak.
I know. We've been on opposite parts of the planet.
Yeah, we have. How was your week? How was your week and a half since we chatted?
My week's going really great. I'm opening up my own office in San Francisco, so I'm super stoked about that.
Oh my god, like an actual office space?
Yeah, it's out of a place called the Center SF. I do stuff at the Tea Lounge there frequently, and they had a space come open, and it's just felt right in my coaching practice. So yeah, I'm opening up a space of my own.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
When does that start?
February.
Oh, girl.
I know.
So are you like taking out like furniture and like...
Yeah, totally. I'm just moving towards that right now. So things have been kind of finalizing this week, and just been really, really loving coaching lately. And some of the conversations have been coming up, and now I have more space to spread out and do even more creative stuff with it. So,
wow, That's exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
I also had a bit of a crazy week.
Yeah,
a bit of a very crazy week. Literally today, I like walked in the door a couple hours ago. I was in Amsterdam. I've been gone for, I guess, 9 days. I think 7 days I was in Amsterdam. So my I don't even want to think about like what time it is in Amsterdam right now and like what time zone I'm possibly in. So if I'm lagging a little bit tonight,
totally.
Yeah, that's why. And as a point of how crazy and busy it was while I was in Amsterdam, Finn, you'll understand this. I only went to the gym once.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's like a cyclical recuperation week is what we call it.
That was bad. It was bad.
Wow. Well, what did you eat though?
Everything. I ate everything. Well, because, when you're doing these shoots, I feel very much like a mom, and I want to make sure everyone's fed. And that, like, if you're hungry, people just get bitchy, and you just want to feel nourished and supported. So we had like a full breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And, like, especially when you're kind of anxious, you just find yourself eating a little bit more.
Yeah, totally.
You just want to feel good.
Although I have to say, if I were one of the people taking off my clothes on camera, I'd be like, no, I just want lettuce and chicken breast, please. Super strict.
But because I wasn't one of those people, I was really able to throw it down a little bit. So
good fruit over there. Did you have fruit?
Fruit in Amsterdam?
Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about?
Like amazing, like berries and grapes and stuff. Yeah, last time I was there, I just was eating and eating too. Probably for very different reasons than you were eating and eating.
It was like 20. It was freezing.
Oh, well.
There's no berries. It's like berries. Snowing.
Are you saying I'm lying?
Well, I mean, maybe there's berries in the summer, but there's not berries when there's snow on the ground.
Yeah, I hear that. I don't even know what season is like right now over there, I guess.
Yeah, it's like snow season. And no, we had no fruit or vegetables on set, but lots of pizzas and waffles and strudels and schnitzels and shit. But I do want to take some time to talk about some of the things that happened. And actually, some of it ties into this week's video, which is sexual. It's called Sexual Healing. So, and Finn has been on one of the sets before when we filmed in Palm Springs. So I think some of this will give you, Finn, a little bit of context. But we decided to do like a 4-hour workshop on the day that the models arrived, which was Sunday. And it was funny because, I mean, we pre-screen all the models and we select people who we think are going to be receptive or excited about what we're doing. But you never really know until you get everyone on set. And Brad Amberhart facilitated the workshop. And it was a lot of just kind of like talking about how like gay porn can be taken to the next level, like what people's relationship is with porn and modeling. And I think more than anything, it was just to kind of like warm the models up to each other and build a little bit of connection between them. But one of the models, it was so funny because like halfway into the workshop, he just kind of like cracked and he was like, why are we doing this? Like, he's like, I've been filming porn for 5 years. Like, why can't we just fuck? Like, I don't need to know what you had for breakfast this morning or like, you know, like the ins and outs of your souls. Like you just need to tell me what I need to do on camera and we can just fuck.
Wow.
So it was kind of interesting for, I think, him especially, because he would also say to us like how unsatisfied he was with his experience in gay porn. And then simultaneously be like, so, but why are we doing anything different? You know, I'm like, you're kind of answering your own question. So in that workshop, like a lot of stuff came out. One of the models was is a HIV activist. And so it was an opportunity for him to talk about like being undetectable and what that means and how it impacts his work. And like, that was a really nice conversation. One of the models disclosed, you know, some sexual trauma that had happened in his recent past. And that was like a really, I think, touching moment. And because all the models we worked with were also sex workers, that like, it's, I think it was kind of struck particularly close to home for them. So that was all Sunday night. And then Monday morning, the model who had disclosed the sexual trauma, he sent me a text message that like he was kind of just checking in with himself. And I think a lot of stuff he thought was in the past wasn't really in the past for him. And that like, it wasn't going to be good or healthy for him to film like explicit erotic content. So one of the 4 models left on the day of our first shoot, which like on one hand, like you can imagine if that happened to us in Palm Springs, fan, like we would have been like up a creek without a paddle. Yeah, I was totally like frustrated and everything's like super tightly scheduled, like down to the minute. And like, you can't really just wing it with 3 models. And it was like, we had built this like super intricate, like house and then a tree fell on it is like what it felt like. But on the other hand, like what would have been a lot worse is if the model hadn't spoken up and had done the shoot anyway and potentially like further traumatized himself. So after the shoot, I always send out little thank you notes to everyone involved. And I sent him a note to thank him for speaking up and telling us what it was that he needed in that moment. Even when, or maybe especially when like what it is that you need is actually something that's really difficult to ask for. So I thought that was really inspiring. And I mean, that's Tantra right there. It was a Tantra retreat. And that's asking for what you need, you know?
Yeah, totally. Wow. It's a brave,
so he flew home.
Thing to do, I think.
Yeah. What he needed was to fly home. So he flew home and we had to reorganize everything.
Like casting and everything with.
Yeah. I mean, I even thought about like trying to find a 4th model but it's just such an effort, like screening the models and making sure everyone's a good fit. And I was like, all right, let's see what we can do with 3. And then Brad was there, who's Brad Amberhart is a Tantra coach. He's been on the podcast. And Norm was with us, who's also been on the podcast. He's the world's oldest gay porn star. And both of them were there as like in a coaching role to facilitate some of the workshop stuff and to support the models. But we were lucky that we had them there because they were both like willing and able and eager to step into the role of also modeling. So a couple of videos we recast with Norm and Brad. And we were scheduled to film 12 videos. We ended up filming 11, which I think all things considered was pretty, it was pretty good, but it did require quite a bit of flexibility. And the other thing that was kind of interesting was that, there was a film crew that was following Norm. They're making a documentary about him as the world's oldest gay porn star.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And they were filming like all these explicit sex scenes that we were doing. This is what's amazing to me. Cause obviously we live in the United States where like on TV, you probably can't even show it. They were literally showing gay sex. Like they're like, oh yeah, we can show this. The only thing we have to blur out is the cum.
Oh, wow.
What?
I know. Huh.
Why do we live in America?
Well, isn't that bizarre? And even then, it's like, well, why the cum? I'm wondering. It just fascinates me, like human behavior. I'm like, oh, for sure, let's blur that out and not the penetration. But like, why?
Yeah, like why draw the line at the cum?
I know.
And she said they literally frame by frame, they'll go in and they'll blur out the cum.
Huh.
And
it never happened.
And Norm was pretty prolific in his cum, so.
Oh wow.
Their cum blurrers are going to.
Their editing is going to be like labor intensive.
It really is. Yeah. It's so funny though because they were asking a lot of questions about him and like for a lot of models, if it's suggested that like a scene is going to have a cum shot, like they can really get in their head about it, and it becomes like a whole thing. With Norm, we're just like, Norm, if you want to come, that'd be great. And he goes, okay. And then comes.
Oh wow! He has like really amazing connection to his body, like sensitivity and knowing where he's at and his arousal, and it's really cool.
Yeah,
it's really inspiring to be as old as he is and to be very virile.
Yeah,
it's inspired.
It's something. I don't know if the word is like inspiring because then it kind of like falls into that category of like he's just doing the same thing that these 20-year-olds are doing. And it certainly is, it's something maybe empowering.
It's a good word.
Yeah. There's something about it that like, I don't think he's doing any of this to like inspire others, but
well, what I mean, I guess is like, there's so much, and we hear this all the time from gay men, how older guys, it's just like, it's like almost like once they're older, they're invisible in the community a lot, or just thought of like almost as like, ew, get away, versus like, oh, you have stuff to offer me, and inspiring to me in the sense of like, oh, I'm not, I just turned 39, so I'm not like halfway to dead. I'm like, oh, I'm looking at like a life of fulfillment in front of me, and here's this other person modeling that, and this is the truth. I can see this is true, and this is available to us,
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. He's also very like, he's very vibrant. Like, did you see this week I posted a YouTube video of it was the documentary for Alex Mecum.
I did.
There's a shot in there of, oh gosh, I didn't even like put that in my notes. But hey guys, yeah, there's a YouTube video you should check out. It's 15 minutes long. It's pretty good though.
Yeah.
There's a shot of Norm and he's wearing some like neon like t-shirt and he looks like he's like 14 years old. Like he's just full of joy and life and he's just smiling and his hair is like all crazy and like blowing in the wind. And I was like, he just looks like a little boy with like lots of wrinkles.
Like he's free.
Yeah.
Like free a lot from a lot of the constraints that we can acquire, I guess, as we grow older.
And playful and like vibrant. Yeah. And like very, very much alive. I don't know.
So question, did they, in the casting, like, it just kind of like shifted around and was more impromptu from all perspectives, or was it like still sticking by script and just substituting people in? Like,
we deviated from the script a little bit. We mostly stuck to it. It was more kind of like changing the casting around. So like we had, what was scheduled would be like 2 models would be in a scene and then the other 2 models would be doing a workshop. And once there were 3, like that was no longer the case. But we're like, oh, okay, for this video, we can have Brad and Norm do it instead of, Kaden and Bishop. And, we'll just kind of like reorganize it this way. And it's also tough because it's like, we filmed 4 videos a day with what was supposed to be 4 models. And like, people can only come so much. And while that's not like super important for any of the concepts, I know for my audience, a lot of them, they want to see calm. And if suddenly you have 3 models doing 4 videos, like there's just, I know I shouldn't look at calm as a limited resource, but you know, I mean, the well can run dry, right? Like,
well, did you ever like whenever I was a teenager, I used to like, I guess when the internet first started, I started like looking up like increase your semen, and just, I don't know where that got in my mind, but like I was reading interviews and things from porn stars back then, and Peter somebody, can't remember his name, famous Peter guy. Anyway, he like eats like shit tons of oysters every day and takes a lot of zinc and like all these different things. So when I was younger, I was experimenting with like, can I boost my semen volume?
And what were the results of your?
I mean, I don't know if it's like psychosomatic or not, but I kind of feel like it did. But then I'm like, maybe I'm just like really exciting myself up, and you know, like if you stay aroused for a while, you shoot a big load anyway. So
yeah, I suspect it's more that. I think there's just people who are big comers and there's people who aren't. Like it's got to be like a genetic component or something. But yeah. So we the project, by the way, we filmed it in this like giant old hotel, and we filmed like nearly, I don't know, like a dozen different rooms in this hotel. And I always say that like I learned something different on each shoot, and this shoot was definitely a learning experience in a lot of ways. I would not do another hotel like that unless it was a lot smaller, or if we had like the whole thing rented, because half of my time was just like carting like shit from like, you know, filming equipment from one room to the next room, and like I just schlepped all day.
Oh wow. One of the commoners.
yeah. Oh yeah, I get right down in the mud. If people think it's like some glamorous job, I'm like sweating and gross, and we had a lot of equipment. We used the same camera that they used for Game of Thrones. How fucking nuts is that?
That's cool.
Yeah. So it was really high production value, but it just meant like there was a lot of stuff to constantly move. Whereas when we filmed in Palm Springs, we rented a house and we were all in like the same communal space, which was like really easy. And so anyway, it looked really good, but so by the way, the model who was like, oh, why do we need to do this? Like, why don't I just show up and fuck? I appreciated having him on set because I think his honesty was probably where like a lot of gay men were at. Like they're probably in the same boat as him. And so I'm really glad that he spoke up and didn't just like go along with it. But it was definitely a challenge though, because he like during a scene he'd be like, all right, like he'd be like, what do you need me to do? And we'd be like, well, we want you to do in this scene like what would be hot for you? What would be really fun for you to do? Like what would turn you on? And he'd be like, well, like, what do you need me to do? And we're like, well, we need you to do what feels good for you. Like it was, he was just so, and he talked about how like the sex he has is the same as the porn he shoots. Like he was very, I think in terms of like starting your journey of sexual exploration discovery, like he was probably just at that, like he was probably where I was at when I was in my 20s. And
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, and also I'm imagining there's a level of security that he has in his position. And so it's like, do I want to go, oh, you guys are going to take away all the security that I have and what I do, you know, like he's got a good thing going in his mind. And so, you know, here's some new ways to think of it. You're not going to do what you normally do. And like, all of a sudden there's like this, like, oh God, I'm not the expert, or I think we all can experience that on some level.
Yeah, he did comment that like all the conversations we're having about like what each scene embodied and like what we're trying to accomplish, it just kept like, he said it wasn't good for his boner, like these conversations. Like he just wants to show up and fuck.
Well,
so finally though, on the very last day of shooting, it's the very last day, the very last shoot, like everyone was getting just a little bit loopy and like out of it. And usually we're like really flexible with the videos and like what happens in it, but like whether or not someone's coming or getting hard. But this was one of those videos that like really needed a cum shot, and like he would be the person in that video to provide the cum shot, and it like wasn't happening. And so finally he just kind of like snapped, and he was like, okay, he's like, someone go get me some lube. I need a butt plug in like 5 minutes. Like, get your cameras ready. Give me 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna come. And I was so happy that finally, like, that's not how we want people to. I mean, it's not like my ideal for how people are gonna like come on set, but I was just happy that he had finally like said what he needed. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Advocate for your needs.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you can't, like, I guess you can't expect it all to be like, you know, exactly as planned. And so it's like, even though that's not maybe your ideal, like, it's not going to always be ideal anyway. So it highlights that that's kind of like our real experience anyway. Sometimes we have peaks and sometimes we have valleys.
Yeah. It is tough that it's not like what we had planned, because like I really wanted to like figure out like in my mind, it's like, okay, let's find like the best approach for like working with models. And but the reality is like every model is different, and like what they respond to is different, and you can't like I can't create a formula for this that's going to work in every situation. That's like what drives me nuts, that like each project you have to approach as like kind of an adventure with like so many unknowns. But I said it ties into this week's video, which is called Sexual Healing. And on the last day, I can't remember which video it was, but we, what number video it was, but Caden Gray and Bishop Black were filming a really kinky scene that involved ropes. And they decided to offer it up for the model who had left us to go home early. And Brad had done this whole kind of conversation around like the healing power of sex. And he told us the story about like, I think he had like a 40-person orgy, and they held a friend who was sick in their hearts, and like the guy was in a coma and he came out of the coma, and we all kind of were just like, well, like it was a really beautiful story, but I think most of us are a bit more like science based, and like the models were just like, yeah, that like doesn't work for me. Like that's not like that doesn't make sense to me. That's not relatable. But there is some like power or truth in the idea of like holding someone in your heart while you make love. Like that is powerful. And like, will it bring someone out of a coma? You know, like I don't know, but I do know that our sexual energy is, I mean, I think it's the most powerful energy in the world because it literally creates life. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I think there's something to it, but the video was really beautiful, and it was really beautiful to watch them create that. But I think I'm going to post that video probably in like 3 or 4 weeks. So that's going to be the first one that's released from Instagram for you guys to see. But it was really hot. And the model who was tied down is used to being dominant, and the guy who did the tying is used to being submissive. And like the guy who was typically dominant, like completely surrendered, and he was like rock hard, and he like shot this huge load from like the other model touching his dick. Like it was just really like it was, everything just kind of fell into place for it.
It sounds really hot.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Last but not least, last little bit of news. Chad, the guy who I've been seeing for a while that I mentioned, he came along for the video shoot. And I wanted him to like see what it was that I do and get like a little bit more acquainted with my work, because, you know, like things are like, I just want him to see the side of myself. And I just think he's like so sweet and perfect, and he's got such wonderful energy, and he's super sexual, and he was really supportive of everything that was going on. And anyway, on the first night that we were there, I said to him, I was like, so Chad, he's 21. I was like, you've never had a boyfriend before, right? And he's like, yeah, no, I never have. And I said, do you want one? And he goes, yeah. And I said, do you want him to be me? And he said, yeah. So it's official. We're boyfriends.
Yay.
You heard it here first, folks.
That's really sweet.
Yeah. It was really cute. He said he was going to ask me out next month. We're going to Key West in Florida, but I think Amsterdam's a lot more romantic than fucking Florida.
I think, yeah. That's just really sweet. What happened after that? Like that dialogue is almost like from a romantic film, you know?
Yeah, like a really bad gay romantic comedy.
No, I love it.
Like, yeah, we
yes.
we ate each other's cum. We consummated it.
Did you know he was gonna say yes?
No.
I just feel happy.
Yeah, I didn't know he was gonna say yes. And I actually felt like really vulnerable having the conversation, but I don't know. I've been trying to be better at like telling people how I feel about them. Even if it makes you feel vulnerable or even if it risks your heart being broken, because like he could have said no and like that would have been tough, but like I think it was better to take the chance, right? And and let him know how I feel.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, like the risk of like sharing, you know, it's like, but the wages of that, it's like if you don't, then you have live with the like holding back too, and that's its own kind of pain. And I can imagine your heart beating fast, and like you're like, were you like nervy a little bit on the inside?
No, my heart was like racing. It's just funny that he was going to ask me out in Florida next month. So
right.
like we were both on the same page, even though none of us like had expressed it. Yeah, I almost feel like the pain of not telling someone how you feel, like it's more acute if you say to someone like, do you want to be my boyfriend? And they say no, like that's more acute. Like in that moment, it really hurts. But I think that pain of like not speaking your truth or not telling someone how you feel, that's like a slower pain, but like it's a longer pain. You know, like it's
and a numbing kind of thing that happens to us.
Yeah, I think collectively it's worse.
I agree. Yeah, it mutes and numbs the parts of us that want to express and share, and yeah, that's really cool. I'm happy to hear that.
Also, if you're wondering why I'm wearing these like gnarly headphones, it's because I lost my fucking AirPods. This is now I reordered them. I'm now on my third set of AirPods in like 4 fucking months.
Like an AT&T operator.
That's what I look like. These are from my Air New Zealand flight to Amsterdam. Like, I can't. How many times have you lost your AirPod buds? What the fuck are they? What are they called?
AirPods. I haven't lost any, but I actually had a pair stolen a couple weeks ago.
Oh, that's right. You had mentioned that.
Yeah.
Well, mine aren't stolen. I just lose them. But the thing is, they're so fucking good. Like I love them so much, so I just keep reordering them, and it's like it's a great business model, Apple. Thank you.
Totally.
All right, let's get to this week's video.
What is it called? Self-destructing AirPods.
Yeah, so
blow up every month or two.
I basically have like a monthly subscription for $160 to buy new fucking earphones. Yeah. No one's buying iPhones anymore. They're just spending it all on AirPods. All right, let's talk about this week's video. It is titled "Sexual Healing," and it features Peter Pounder. He's Canadian. Did you know that?
I think I heard that from another video he was in.
Yeah. Like what, from his voice? Like you could tell?
No, I think you might have said that. Or perhaps it just sounds like a vague memory. I didn't. Yeah.
He's one of the only Canadians I know who doesn't have foreskin. Canada has a lot of foreskin. Did you know that?
Well, good for them.
It's abundant.
Yeah, they haven't.
Sometimes I take trips to Canada just for the foreskin.
Oh, yeah.
So some of the best things.
I go back to Canada while I get all of my foreskin back.
No, I've spent a lot of time there and it hasn't regrown. But that it is abundant. You just can't make it your own, but you can enjoy it and other people. We haven't really talked about foreskin. How do you feel about foreskin, Finn? We're never gonna get to this fucking video.
Well,
how do you feel about foreskin?
I love it. Do you really want to know my position on this? I have a radical position. I think it's like a crime that they do that to little boys and they cut their foreskins off. I think we're born perfect how we are. And I can't believe there's all kinds of mythology around that about like cleanliness or medical reasons. It's all bullshit. And I think it's a hangover, vestigial organ of like an old patriarchal religion.
Fucking Matt. That's like the best thing I've heard in my life.
I love foreskin, and I also have like stretched mine out some backwards. You don't get like the 50,000 nerve endings that you lose, but you do get coverage again, and it like resensitizes your dickhead.
It's genital mutilation.
It is.
Like, I don't know why people have a hard time.
Like, oh, it's so perfect. Cut off his part of his cock.
No,
it's so weird.
People, I think, have a hard time hearing that because they don't want to think of their cocks as like being mutilated. Like, and I get that. But the reality is like it is an unnecessary surgery that like is being done without the child's consent, like on their genitals. It is literally genital mutilation. The only reason we don't think of it as that, or some people don't think of it as that, is because it's done so frequently and it's so widespread. And I get that like some people want to be circumcised. Awesome. They should make that decision for themselves when they're capable of making it. I did not want to be circumcised, and my parents made that decision for me. And in doing so, half of the nerve endings on my dick ended up in, the dumpster of some hospital. Yeah. And one of my first experiences on planet Earth was someone slicing through my dick with a blade.
Yeah. It's like the initial loss of trust in life, I think.
Yeah. Welcome to Earth. I'm going to cut your nerve endings off your dick.
Totally. Yeah, I love the restoration movement. You can go to norm.org, norm.org, and there's like all kinds of data on like restoration, and you can buy devices to do it or make your own. I've done partial restoration, so I think it's really cool. And it has actually affected the sensitivity of my cock.
Nice.
Yeah, it gets like softer. The dick gets softer again.
I have like
You're salivating.
Yeah, I am. I'm wiping my lips here. And if people aren't ready for that, like a simple thing that they can use is to stop describing dicks as circumcised or uncircumcised. That if a dick has foreskin, you can call it intact, because if you're saying uncircumcised, you're framing it in terms of like normalizing circumcision.
That's great. Yeah,
it's like saying like I'm unhungry. No, you're full.
Yeah, intact. I like that.
Yeah. So that's a little food for thought.
And victimized.
Anyway, this video has nothing to do with foreskin, nor does this podcast today, but I'm glad that we could take it there.
Yeah, totally.
Happy we're on the same page. So this video demonstrates a ritual wherein you basically jerk off. You build up sexual energy, and then you use your hands to direct it into a part of the body that needs healing. So it can be physical, like if you have an injury, if you're having back pain or like joint issues, but it can also be emotional. In the video, Peter directs the energy into his heart. I suspect like a broken heart, or like he's sad or experiencing loneliness. Finn, my question for you is this. Do you believe this? Like, do you think this works?
Yes.
Wow.
It works for me. Yeah, I believe it works.
A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you can probably relate to this. Yeah. Like if you've had sex and it's been really amazing, it might have taken away some fears that you had or worries you had or something. I don't know. Like maybe, have you ever had a physical experience like that where suddenly everything's amazing again? And you're like, oh, why was I down? Yeah. I think it's just like consciously directing yourself towards that. So if you approach it like, oh, I'm just going to whack off, but I'm not going to really like slow down and be present with what's going on, I don't know that you'd have that experience. But if you're opening your awareness on purpose to like be with your body and, spend time.
Just because it's like releasing endorphin, like there's just some sort of like chemical, hormonal, like when you come or have sex, you just relax or it makes you happy. I hear what you're saying. I guess I'm just like,
well, here's the thing. Pain, like physical pain your brain creates the sensation of pain. Like the nerves, like they have input that comes in. It's all a brain interaction with,
that's true.
With the nerves that create the sensation of pain. So yeah, they have, I think we had talked about this before, like acupuncture. They've had surgeries done where people are just using acupuncture or meditating. Or there's lots of research that's actually scientifically based around the use of meditation for pain relief, you know, or for like psychological pain relief. And so I think this is just like to me, a branch of that. It's like a meditative state. You're like letting your awareness expand. You're allowing yourself to feel more sensation. And yes, consequently, that you talked about the brain releasing more chemicals. Yeah. Like when you're fully into it.
I guess it's easier for me to like grasp what you're saying, which is like, okay, maybe through harnessing your, like the release of chemical, something happens that like makes you like in your brain less aware of the pain that's happening or less sensitive to it. I almost think though that like what I got from this video is that it takes it a step further, which is like you can actually like direct that energy into like a part of your body and not just like numb the feeling of pain, but like actually heal something. And like for me, it's just a little bit difficult to grasp because like, if that's the case, then like, I want to understand the science of it. Like, like, couldn't you test this on like, there would be a way to somehow like do a controlled experiment where you could see if this works. And like, if that's the case, like, why hasn't this been done?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I hear that. Well, you know, one thing that always kind of comes up in these discussions, whether it be a sexual energy discussion or like other like kinds of like meditation, even, it's like, you know, the placebo effect with like people, that always blows my mind, where it's like, well, here is all this data that they typically in research go, oh, well, that's just a placebo effect. And we can't really talk about all that. But anyway, back to studies, you know, and it's
like, what is the placebo effect really?
Yeah, like, well, these people took fake pills and they actually did, you know, go through these tests and scientifically show change. So I think in a culture where sex is deeply couched in shame a lot too, it's unlikely that, you know, there's a lot of interest in that or like any kind of like research around it. But I think I would put this in the not just sex by itself, but in the category of like meditative state, like the ability of our brain to really contact what's going on. Sometimes we have these nagging pains in our bodies that we do kind of almost create, you know, like it worsens through like just thinking about it. And yeah. So like in the same way, like sexuality, if you really believe so profoundly with all your heart that your energy is moving into those places, and maybe you can, it's maybe generated from your mind, but who am I to say, you know?
Yeah. It falls a little bit into the category of like sex magic. And we did a video also with Peter about sex magic where he used sex magic to attract, he uses sexual energy to attract like people into his life, new lovers into his life. And the way I was able to kind of, I guess, rationalize that is like, I think like if you become more confident, then like it will come across as more attractive and bring more people into your life. And like, if you believe that you're worthy, whether or not that comes from like a jerk off session, you know, that you're having or not, like if you believe you're worthy of men, then you'll attract more men. And and if you tell someone by jerking off, like you're going to be more confident and you will attract more people, like to me, I can kind of like connect those dots a little bit more. It's a little bit of a, I don't know, harder pill to swallow if we're going to say like, no, it's actually going to like, transform your body and like that take someone out of a coma, or not that it's impossible. I just have more questions, you know?
Yeah. And also I'm just appreciating the part of you, I guess, that doesn't just accept things just because someone told you, you know, I hear that for sure. And I think I agree with you about the sex magic. It's like, if I'm just like, you know, having a shitty attitude and just expect to change everything by whacking off, that's not going to happen. But if you really are using like your masturbation and trying to like really love yourself and really doing the work inside, you are going to like raise your confidence, and that is going to be attractive, you know?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So I don't know. For me, it's kind of a question mark, and I want to give voice to probably the many gay men who are out there who are listening, who are like, okay, like this just ventures a little bit too much into that hippy dippy world of some of the stuff that we do, but it's also, there's enough there that it's also not worth dismissing entirely. So I'd be curious for people to maybe write in and tell us a little bit about their experience. Speaking of which, we have some questions to get to. If you guys have questions at home, or you want to talk about your experience with this healing power of sex, please send it to Davey at daveywavey.tv, Davey at daveywavey.tv as in television. Question number 1. I'm also in my 30s and was wondering if you had a celebrity childhood crush that you wouldn't mind sharing with us on the podcast. I love this question.
I do. I have a lot.
Mine were Joey and Matthew Lawrence. This is the person writing in, who I had to Google. The name sounded familiar to me. I Googled them, and I totally, as soon as I did, I was like, oh my God, I totally remember being in love with both of them. I guess I didn't realize that they were brothers, but now I like them even more. I thought they were, the writer continues, I thought that they were the hottest and they are still looking great. Okay. So Finn, who were your celebrity childhood crushes?
Well, there were so many. When I was younger, I guess like early teens, I am kind of a little embarrassed to say this, but I loved Mark Paul Gloucester off Saved by the Bell.
He was like everyone's though.
I know.
Everyone's. He was a total babe.
I know. And then that guy, I guess his name's Jesse on Full House.
Oh, the dad.
With like the dark hair guy.
Yeah. Because he's in the remake of Fuller House.
Him.
And he looks exactly the same. What is his name? Something Stamos?
Yeah. Stamos.
John Stamos?
Yep.
Is that his name?
I think so.
He looks exactly the same as he did in Full House.
He was handsome.
He still is.
Yeah. And then I got into rock stars after that. I love Dave Navarro. I was really into.
I don't know who that is.
That scene. Yeah.
Do you want to hear mine? Mine's like super embarrassing.
Who?
There used to be this movie called Teen Wolf. And starring Michael J. Fox. And I was like the sexiest person in the world. Because I like literally have no feelings of attraction towards him now, like whatsoever. But I think it was something to do with like the body hair, and it was like, oh, he's like hitting puberty, and like I wanted body hair, and so I just like thought it was like so sexy that he had hair all over his body.
Yeah. Also, do you remember the movie The Goonies?
No.
Oh my God, the older brother in that was so hot. So those are like the ones I can remember from childhood.
Yeah, it's like mildly disturbing to like go into that place, but all right, question number 2. A few years ago, I was hooking up with a very well-endowed man, in parentheses, 11 inches. That is quite endowed. Is that real? Are people actually 11 inches? I'm wondering.
I think there's a few people.
Okay. I think sometimes people are just like, it's 11 inches. We learned this. So in Amsterdam, I filmed a YouTube video that hasn't come out yet about like, it's the gay man's guide to butt toys. And one of the tips is that like when you're ordering a dildo, to keep in mind that it's real inches.
That's awesome.
Because it's true, especially if you're just like getting started. Like we had a 6-inch dildo that we used to demonstrate in the video. That fucker was like damn near 9 inches. Like if it was on Grindr. So I can see someone being like, oh, I'm going to order this 10-inch dildo, and you get it, and it's like the size of a fucking pizza. You know? And so was this 11-inch dick really 11 inches?
I'm going to file that in the maybe.
I'm going to file that in the 7.5-inch category. It started off as just giving him some head, but escalated to him wanting to fuck me. I obliged, but warned him that I had not douched, and I don't mind penetration, but only a few inches. And then in parentheses again, yes.
Winky face emoji.
He did not heed my warning and quickly put in all 11 inches and started jackhammering me. I knew immediately it was a shitty situation. More than the shit, I would have been like, get out of my house, because I fucking told you to put a couple inches in, and then you just stuck your fucking 11-inch cock up my ass. Of course, I would have liked having an 11-inch cock up my ass. Different story. So I immediately knew it was a shitty situation. I told him to stop, and he did. Thank you. Pulling out, but he realized what had happened. He got extremely verbal and aggressive about the situation, and he kicked me out of his dorm room with no time to clean up. So to this day, with no time to clean up. So what? He just like put on his like shitty underwear and like walked out. Like
that's horrible.
Yeah. To this day, I find I can. I don't know why I can't read. I cannot have anal sex with hookups or anyone, and unless I've established a relationship or connection with them, due to extreme anxiety and fear around this experience. Any thoughts on what I need to do, or anything I can do to help get over this anxiety and how I can fully enjoy anal sex? Mm-hmm. Also, I learned my douching lesson. Well, thank you for the update. I'm glad that they tied up the loose ends there. Right. That was nice. And also, this isn't a thing about like how wrong this guy was to like this hookup to like kick him out and to fuck him when he said only put a couple inches. Like, I think this person's asking, okay, that, yes, we all recognize that was wrong and bad and awful, but what can I do to not be so anxious around anal sex? Have you ever, Finn, worked with guys that like are really anxious about sex?
Totally.
What do you usually say to them?
You have to like just accept that you're anxious about it so that you don't resist that all the time anymore. And I would say screen the person that you're going to have sex with a little more. And that's okay. Like now you're holding this vulnerability. And if you're, instead of denying it, just, if you're with somebody that's a little bit more empathetic and be like, hey, I'm a little nervous because this, I mean, depending on the connection you have with the person, I find that often that opens up a lot of possibility with somebody.
And does it, so if you do have like a really like open and honest conversation with someone, you decide to have sex, like eventually it probably does get easier, right? Like
absolutely.
Like, yeah. I mean, it might take time.
Like, yeah, because ultimately the root of that is like, I'm good enough and this happened to me and it really sucked for me. And here I'm vulnerable now about that. And I don't have any shame about that, and it takes work to feel that confident about it. But it's like, that was a shitty situation for you to experience. And now it has affected you. And you're, if you're holding yourself in high regards, even though this thing happened, then I think someone with an empathetic attunement to you would pick up and be fine with that. It's like, oh, okay, let's just go slow. Or, I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities besides like, too bad, no more for you.
Yeah. And in that screening process, like find a fucking top that knows what they're doing and like that has experience. And like, I would even suggest hooking up with someone who's primarily a bottom because they're really gonna be, they're really gonna get it and be empathetic to your experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I say.
Great. Question number 3. I would love to get into porn, but I am not sure where to start. Or if you have any advice for a newbie, please share. So I think because I chat with a lot of porn stars, either in the content that I make for YouTube or in casting people for Himeros TV. And I think porn stars largely fall into 2 categories in terms of their motivations for doing porn. The more popular category is they're doing it to make quick money. And then the other motivation is that they're doing it because they really view their sexuality as a gift and they feel really empowered when they create films and they think it's super hot to know that people are like coming to the image of them and that they get to demonstrate the sexuality to the world. It's like 90-10 would be like the percentage, like 90% of porn stars that I've worked with or that I've met like tend to do it for money. And then 10% tend to do it because they find it to be like really empowering. And the people that do it for the money tend to, when all is said and done, have a fairly not great experience with porn. And it's not fulfilling and they get frustrated with it. And I think looking back tend to regret it. Mm-hmm. The people that do it because their sexuality is a gift, like really feel fulfilled by the work. And so I would say to this person that's looking to get into the industry to look at what your motivation is. Mm-hmm. If you're doing it for the money, then most people who do it for those reasons tend to regret it. If you're doing it because you really think it's going to be exciting and empowering and an adventure, then like those are the reasons to get into it. That'd be my advice.
Yeah, I second that. I don't have anything unique to say. I was gonna say, what's your motivation? And
Carl, we're just on the same page today.
Yeah.
Foreskin, motivation. We're just synced up. And I'm so fucking loopy. I cannot even describe to you how tired I am. All right. What's that?
I'm happy you're back.
I am happy to be back, girl. All right. So if you guys have any questions, send them in to us. Next week, we are going to talk about a video titled Porn Star Rebellion.
I'm excited about that one.
Living for it. Living
for it.
Finn, where can people find you?
FinnDeerhart.com. FINNDEERHART.
Awesome. And make sure that you guys, if you're interested in any of these videos that we talked about today, you can go to Himeros.tv to watch a free preview, or you can become a member and be a part of this gay porn revolution. Thanks so much for listening. And as always, more to come.